Hey friends, um, I've got an article that just come out that I'm going to read to you guys. And I'm going to ask that each and every one of you remain as safe as possible. Okay? These are dark times. Voting rights are being stripped away from minorities. And just because you're a white female doesn't mean that you're not a minority. They're going to try to take the rights away from you. And they're going to try to take the rights away from um, anyone that's LGBTQ plus, transgender, all of us. Okay? And when I say all of us, I'm talking about everyone. If you're not a white male, they're going to try to do everything they can to keep you from voting. Louisiana done canceled voting, and everybody that did vote got a letter saying that their vote isn't counted because they canceled voting due to state of emergency. Whatever that state of emergency is, who knows? They never said. Fuck them. Okay? These people are fucked in the head. This is some bullshit. So whatever you do the best you can to stay as safe as you can. And those of you that actually listen to my videos, y'all will remember a video that I made where I told you that they were going to try to delete us and get rid of us. I meant that. And this article is going to prove that. It says, Trump says state must act now on Supreme Court ruling, even if they have to vote twice. Excuse me. Willie Simmons stood outside the Memphis motel where Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. It's now a museum dedicated to the civil rights movement. Days after the U.S. Supreme Court gutted a key provision of the Voting Rights Act, Simon feared what the decision would mean not just for black Americans like himself, but an entire country where the political guardrail seems to be coming apart. Simon, who leads the Shelby County Democrat Party in Tennessee, said the court's conservative majority said a precedent that if you're not in the in-crowd group, they can just erase us. I'm going to read that paragraph again for the people in the back. Simon, who leads the Shelby County Democrat Party in Tennessee, said the court's conservative majority set a precedent that if you're not in the in-crowd group, they can just erase us. By weakening a requirement that states draw congressional districts in a way that gives minorities an opportunity to control their own fate, the court escalated the nationwide redistricting war that has seen Democrats and Republicans casting aside decades of tradition in hopes of gaining an edge over the competition. New sessions are scheduled to begin this week in 2 Republican-controlled states to eliminate U.S. House districts represented by Democrats, and there's more on the horizon. It's the latest example of how the American Democrat experiment has been pushed to the breaking point in the decade since Donald Trump rose to power. Now think about those words. Since Donald Trump rose to power. The only time that those words are used typically are when there's a dictator taking over a country, turning the government into an autocrat leadership. Okay? Extreme rhetoric has become commonplace. There's been a spike in political violence and a rash of assassinations. And that's very true. It's happened ever since Trump has been back in the White House. 5 years after the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, Trump's allies are trying to harness the same falsehoods about the voter fraud to the rules and norms that once helped smooth over an unruly country's vast differences have given way to a race for power at all costs. It says, I've never subscribed to the idea we're in a civil war, but the gerrymandering wars and the recent decisions from the Supreme Court do not make the United States more united, said Matt Delic, a political scientist at George Washington University. It speeds up the hyper-partisan force and atmosphere that people feel on both sides. Another title, it says, No More Rule of Law. Trump ignited the conflict over redistricting last year by urging Republicans to redraw congressional maps to reduce the likelihood that his party loses the U.S. House in November midterm elections. It was an unusual step since redistricting normally only takes place after the once a decade consensus to accommodate population shifts. But in 2019, the Supreme Court ruled federal courts cannot prevent partisan gerrymandering, and Trump saw a chance to push the limits. And that's what he did the first time he was in office. He was seeing how much wiggle room he had to do whatever he wanted. Okay? And that's why I feel like I do now, and why I registered to vote this year. Because vote Democrat, okay? Because I seen what he did last year. So I knew that what he was going to do this year was going to be 10 times worse than the first time. Once Republican-led states, like Texas, started shifting district lines, Democrat-led states like California countered. The fight was heading for a draw until the Supreme Court's conservative majority issued its long-awaited decision in Louisiana versus Callis, I guess it's how it's said. The court weakened the last remaining national impediment to gerrymandering. Excuse me. Sorry, you guys. The Voting Rights Act requirement that in places where white people and outnumbered racial minorities vote differently, districts be drawn to give those minorities a chance to elect representatives they prefer. The ruling opened a new set of political floodgates. Republicans in Tennessee plan to erase the only Democratic congressional district, which is majority black and centered in Memphis, by splitting it up among more conservative suburban and rural white communities. More than a dozen other majority-minority districts, mainly in the South, could face the same fate. Louisiana moved to postpone its congressional primaries, set for May 16th, to have a chance to redraw two majority black Democratic seats it was required to maintain before the recent ruling. Alabama is trying to get the Supreme Court to let it draw its two majority black seats. We should demand that the state legislature do what the Supreme Court says must be done, Trump wrote on social media on Sunday. That is more important than administrative convenience, he says. He also said Republicans could gain 20 seats through redistricting. We cannot allow there to be an election that is conducted unconstitutionally simply for the convenience of state legislatures. If they have to vote twice, so be it. Democrats have threatened to retaliate by splitting up conservative bastions by states like New York, Illinois, which could reallocate Republican voters to more liberal urban districts. With fewer limits, either legal or self-imposed, people expect the issue to become a perpetual race to squeeze every possible advantage out of legislative maps. It is hard to know where it ends, said Rick Hasen, a law professor at UCLA. Partisans gleefully shared color-coded maps of California with all 54 House seats drawn for Democrats or southern states with only a couple of blue districts. Most agreed that eventually it will be very hard for Democrats to get elected to the House in any Republican-run state, even if there are large swaths of blue-leaning terrain, and vice versa for Republicans in Democrat-run states. That seems un-American, said Jonathan Servas, a political scientist at Carnegie Mellon, who's redrawn maps on behalf of judges reviewing redistricting, litigation. The country system, he said, was founded on this idea that it's majority rule with minority rights. There's no more rule of law in redistricting, Servas said. There have to be some constraints somewhere, otherwise we don't really have elections. Another title, Politicians' Best Tool to Game Elections. The arcane of drawing legislative lines is the most powerful tool that politicians have for gaming elections. They can make districts an almost guaranteed win for their side by drawing lines that scoop up a majority of their voters and just enough of the opposition supporters to ensure the other party cannot win that seat or the one next door either. Lawmakers have used the trick since the country's founding. Democratic gerrymanders helped the party hold on to House through the Reagan Revolution after the 2010 midterms. Republican majorities in state legislatures allow the GOP to draw districts to lock up control of the House even during President Barack Obama's election 2 years later. However, that didn't prevent a blue wave in 2018 during Trump's first term. When Democrats retook the House, it was a reminder that even the most partisan gerrymanders may stifle shifts in public opinion, but eventually crack as political tides turn. When you try to get every last ounce of blood from the stone, you can end up shooting yourself in the foot, said Michael Lee of the liberal Brennan Center for Justice in New York. Political coalition also change, and voters that a party thinks will be reliable can switch sides. That's what happened in the Trump era, as Democrats have expanded their support among wealthier and suburban voters and Republicans among blacks and Latinos. Although Republicans won't be able to exploit the full force of the Supreme Court ruling until after the November midterms. It will be challenging for Democrats to find enough seats to counter those gains. Sean Trend, a political analyst who has drawn maps for Republicans, agreed that the court's decision is likely to lead to partisan gerrymandering run amok. He said it's been hard to find neutral arbiters, I guess is how you say it, to rein in politicians who draw lines to benefit themselves. The coming storm, Trende said, will be more of a symptom of polarization than its root cause. All our institutions are broken. We don't speak a common political language, Trend said. This is what you get. So, I told you. They were going to try to make us disappear. And I'm going to tell you, that's not going to be the only way that they try to make people disappear, is by cutting the voting. Once again, I'm going to tell you, I don't know how these son of a bitches live with themselves. I hope they lose sleep every night, and I hope they are absolutely haunted by this for the rest of their life. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. I don't give a damn who you are. Don't make a damn to me. Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. It's just like with the Epstein files. I don't give a flying rat's ass if you're fucking Democrat or not. If you did the crime, you need to do the time. This ain't political when it comes to the Epstein files. But I'm going to tell you what. They're talking about the political violence that has occurred. The political violence hasn't ever been like it is. At all. It didn't start not like this. Nothing like this. Nowhere near this. Until Donald Trump crawled out from under his fuck-ass rock. And he wants to act all innocent when it comes to people trying to assassinate him. He's the perpetrator and then wants to act victim. I don't condone the political violence. I don't condone the assassinations on anyone. Just because you absolutely cannot stand somebody and absolutely despise them with every ounce of your being, I still don't believe or support assassinating someone. Okay? I really don't. But with everything that he's done, everything that he said, everything that he's incited, he's normalized that shit. You know? You can't normalize lynching your senators just because they remind the U.S. military soldiers of the oath of office that they took according to the USMCC, U.S. Military Code of Conduct. It's in the paperwork that they sign when they sign on. They raise their right hand and take an oath to protect the United States Constitution of America. That is what they are to defend. And they are to defend our country, not one man. You don't pledge an oath of loyalty to one person, male or female. You pledge an oath of loyalty to protect and defend the United States Constitution and our country from all terrorists, foreign and domestic. And we've got a domestic terrorist sitting in the White House. And that's my opinion on it. That's exactly how I feel. Sitting back, looking at everything that's going on, seeing everything that's going on, hearing about everything that's going on. The only people that does the shit that Donald Trump is doing are dictators like Putin, Netanyahu, and see if I can say his name right, Xi Jinping. I think he's the ruler of China. Okay, and you've got Mojtaba Khamenei. He's a dictator. Okay, he runs an autocratic government. His father, Ali Khamenei, he was an autocrat dictator. They say his son, Mojtaba, is a whole lot worse than Ali is. Two different people, both autocrats. One is just worse than the other. Donald Trump was bought and paid for by Netanyahu. Netanyahu was at the White House in the Situation Room. Yeah, in the Situation Room. They've been known to put bugs, spy bugs, in government buildings, offices, places like that. So I really, really do hope with all my heart that the CIA searched the hell out of that room in every nick and crevice and cranny and crack. Under the chairs, under the table, under the legs of the chair, under the feet of the chair, under the feet of the tables, in the drawers, anywhere that a bug would fit to hear what's going on and spy on our country. Donald Trump has already let, I think it was the Prince of Saudi, see some type of map that only 6 people in the entire government has the clearance to even have a visual on when they were on Air Force One. Which leads to another question. What in the hell is he doing putting the Prince of Saudi on Air Force One? You know what I think? I think that Donald Trump and Eric Trump and maybe Don Jr., maybe, not positive, kind of iffy on it. There's a possibility that maybe even Don Jr. has a contract with Saudi Arabia, a real estate contract. Don't know what it is. Don't know why I feel like that. But there's a buddy of mine that lives in Florida. Anytime that I have ever told my buddy anything that's going to happen, weeks, days, and months prior to that, it's always happened. It's always happened. They gifted Donald Trump with a $400 million jet. And I've said it before. The dude's too ignorant to understand that he's just been bought. Netanyahu, he supposedly has the unredacted full amount of Epstein files. All of them. The whole 5 million files. Okay? All 5 million. He supposedly has all these. And before Trump ordered our soldiers into war with Iran, Netanyahu told Trump, if you don't attack Iran, I'm going to release the files. Iran said, if you attack us, we're going to release the files. That's number one. And I'm going to get to the rest of that here in just a second. Trump had, I want to say 4 or 5 of our ships sitting off the coast of Iran. I'm going to say for roughly 2 weeks, give or take. Okay, somewhere in that time frame, 2 weeks. Sitting there for, like I said, roughly, give or take, 2 weeks. In that whole amount of time, he had plenty of time to go to Congress, explain to Congress what he wanted to do, take paperwork to Congress showing why he wanted to attack Iran. Hypothetically, if Iran actually does have a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb, show proof of that. Take it to Congress. Show them this is what's going on. This is why we want to invade. Show them proof. Guess what? He didn't do it. He didn't do it. There is no proof that Iran has a nuclear bomb. In my personal opinion, genuinely, I don't feel like anybody should have a nuclear bomb. Nobody. Why? Number one, because all it takes is one nuclear bomb to explode above ground to kill off 2/3 of the world's population. Okay? The whole entire world population. 2/3. Okay? And the ones that the radiation doesn't kill are going to end up with some form of infectious disease, cancer. There's going to be some type of disease affect the bronchial tubes in your lungs. It's going to give you the same effect as COPD or emphysema. Okay? And then, not only will it kill the 2/3 of the population in the world, but it also is going to make our soil toxic. You're not going to be able to grow any kind of produce for anybody to eat. It's toxic. And that's if anything even grows. And then all the farm animals, you're not going to be able to eat them either. Cows, ducks, chickens, pigs, fish. Well, I don't know. You might, if he starts drilling out in the ocean, you're not going to be able to have sea life either. That's going to poison the ocean life. But if that don't happen, you might be able to eat fish. Might. It's the only thing you're going to be able to eat. Because everything else grows above ground. Or in the ground and up. Sprouts up. If the soil's toxic, any food that's produced, any fruitation from that's toxic. I don't believe anybody should have a nuclear bomb. Nobody. Just because of those facts. Because of those facts. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And so our soldiers are sitting over in Iran for roughly 2 weeks. He didn't go get congressional approval. Okay? And he's still attacking Iran, even though he says that there's a ceasefire and the war is over. Just because he declares it's over, but continues to bomb them, doesn't mean that he doesn't still have to get congressional approval because it's been past the 60 days. And during the 2-week time span that our soldiers were sitting off the coast of Iran, he's actually supposed to give a 48-hour notification to Congress. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. And he said that the only one that can stop him is his own morality, and he don't have any. So someone in Congress and someone in the Supreme Court of the United States, y'all better step up. Because I'm telling you, you got another fucking Hitler on your hands. You got another Hitler on your hands. And then, Article 1, Section 8 specifically states that there's not supposed to be a private militarized militia cut loose into the streets of the United States. Not a private militia. And the Gestapo ICE is Donald Trump's private military. He told y'all that he was going to build his own military. And I guarantee you, a lot of the people that were J6 that attacked the U.S. Capitol that he pardoned, I can almost guarantee you most of those people signed and agreed to a contract to go to work for Donald Trump as ICE in order for their pardon. Because everything that Donald Trump does is transactional, okay? And all of these so-called people that are loyal to him, that took a verbal oath, I can guarantee you, he made them sign a paper of loyalty to him, and he also made them sign a DNA. I think it's called a DNA. A do not disclose or whatever it's called. That's why they won't answer any questions directly. They sit there like a 5-year-old child and give you all kinds of bullshit excuses to eat up those 5 minutes until they have to cut the time off. All they're doing is blowing smoke up your ass and for 5 minutes, completely diverting the question altogether for 5 minutes, because they know all they have to do is talk a lot of shit and give a lot of excuses on this and reflect back on that. And Pam Bondi, the Dow is 50,000. And if this video ever makes it to Pam Bondi, guess what, bitch? Nobody gives a flying fuck about the goddamn Dow right now. How do you like being fucking unemployed? Fuck you. The people deserve better, and the survivors deserve even better than the regular people of the United States. They deserve truth. They deserve justice. They deserve the truth to come out. The world needs to know who these people are. The world needs to know where all of these thousands of children have disappeared to. People are still looking for their kids. Fuck around and find out, that's all I'm going to tell you. Fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out, broski. It's coming. And again, I'm going to say this again. I said it in one of my other videos. I smell, with my little nose, a revolution on the horizon. Y'all better do what you have to do and get Donald Trump the fuck out of the White House. I don't give a damn if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or 6'5" purple with green polka dots and orange hair. I don't care, because you know right from wrong. You do. You know right from wrong. And you know the shit he's doing isn't fair to anybody. You know that he's broke damn near every law in the book. Federal laws. And you know that he's broke damn near every constitutional article and amendment. I can go through my Constitution right now without even reading the articles or the amendments that's ratified and point out every single one of them that he's violated. He made a comment that he wants a general like Putin has, where they stand straight up in attention, arms down by their side, or salute Putin as he walks in the room. In anything that Putin says that he wants to have done. Right, wrong, indifferent, legal, illegal, don't make a fuck. Don't make a shit. But I am going to tell you, karma's a bitch. Karma's a bitch. And what goes around comes around. So if you're on the wrong side of history right now, it's really a good idea to get back on the right side of history, because at some given point in time, we're going to have to answer for this. And the ones that are going to have to answer to this are the ones that's not even responsible for the shit that's going on. And just because you're a judicial in the Supreme Court, or you're a member of Congress in any of the legislative branches, do not think for 1 second that these voting rights strippings is not going to affect you too. Because he's going to stop you from being able to vote as well. And if you're female, you may not have a job for long. Not just African Americans or Spanish people or the Hispanics or Indian, Native Indian. All you have to do is be female. And he's going to stop you from working. He's going to stop you from working. The only ones that he wants to keep working and keep paying and give a job to are the white men. The white men. Even white women used to not be able to work or vote or buy a car, buy a house, land, have a say in anything. Nothing. Civil rights bled into humanitarian rights. Humanitarian rights opened the door for women's rights. He's working his way down the line, and I said in another video, maybe 2 or 3 videos back, that he's already laid the foundation for a dictatorship to run the country as an autocrat. And he's doing it. And your dumbasses are letting him. And then he can't seem to understand or comprehend why people keep trying to shoot him. Look at what the fuck you're doing to the country. Look at what you're doing. Look at what you're doing to all the people. Even the other countries. Our military is almost out of munitions. Our military doesn't have hardly anything to fucking eat. There's pictures online showing that they don't even hardly have any food. But you're letting Pete Hegseth and all them eat crabs and lobsters and steaks. Are you kidding me right now? The people that actually protect us aren't even hardly able to eat. And then you stopped all the funding to the veteran homes. They're losing their homes. They're being foreclosed on. People that fought for us. Some gave some, and some gave all. And you ought to be absolutely disgusted with yourself. I'll quit rambling and ranting and raving. But y'all stay safe. Figure out what you're going to do. Get it together. All I'm going to tell you is you might want to Get yourself lined up to defend yourself, to protect yourself. Then it may end up coming down to that. I don't know. But that's seeing everything that's going on. I kind of think that's what it's going to boil down to. And I've even been a part of No Kings. I've been one of the people fighting back to save this country the best I've been able to with no transportation to get around. If there's something going on and I'm able to get there by walking or going a short distance even with an Uber, I go. If I've got the money to get there, taking an Uber. Y'all take it easy, folks.